Well, Sarah, thank you so much for being here with me on the Entrepreneurial Success Podcast. I am so excited to do this. We've been talking about doing this for a while now, so I'm glad we got to this point. Before we dive into all the good stuff, why don't I hand over to you so you can introduce yourself to the audience?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So I'm Sarah at Healing Business, and I support wellness practitioners to create a marketing strategy that's aligned with their vision for their most fulfilled life and be visible in ways that feel really energizing to them.
Amazing. And I think this is one of the things when you and I first met, we had an amazing conversation because so much of what we do is very similar, but also there's so much energy and alignment between the two of us, which is why I thought, you know what, we got to put this in a podcast because I just love what you're going to talk about today. So before we go into all of that, I want to hear a little bit more about your story. How did you get started in the healing business as a coach? But also, what did that journey kind of look like for you to where you are now?
Yeah, so I started out life coaching. I was always really interested in like personal development, spiritual development, in my sort of late teens, early 20s. Didn't really have anyone to talk to about it because most of my friends were just into partying and they weren't spiritual and just didn't really want to hear about it. So I kind of found books were such a brilliant guide for me. This is before the internet as well. But you know, just really reading about coaching really lit something up in me. I thought, wow, I always knew I wanted to help people and listen to them and help them transform. But I didn't really always want to go backwards and kind of deal with, you know, the past. And when I discovered coaching through this book, I was like, wow, yes, very future oriented, create your ideal life, you know, decide what it is that you want to do and what you want to be, and then move towards that. It just really clicked. But I was still in my early 20s, and I thought, well, that'll be something for when I'm older and I've got more life experience. And so it was always in the back of my mind. And then I hit a crossroads in my life and hired a life coach. And she was like, what are you waiting for? And don't you just love it when somebody just cuts through your own nonsense and goes, why wait? So I started, you know, on my coaching course and actually, you know, honing my skills and learning about the practice of it. But it wasn't till a lot later that I actually set up the business. And when I did, I realized actually I've got all this corporate career. I've got all my sort of like normal job stuff, all those skills of, you know, being organized, being efficient, creating systems and, you know, working in different departments and businesses, that actually bringing them both together would be really useful. So that's how Healing Business was born. There was quite a few kind of iterations of how I would take the coaching. You know, when I had my children, I was like, oh, is it body confidence? Is it coaching mums? I love declutter. You know, you come up with all these ideas. But then when I started networking and there were people in front of me who was really struggling with, you know, the back office stuff and getting organized and onboarding clients in a way that wasn't overwhelming and all that stuff, I was like, this is so easy for me. And isn't it so interesting how we just discount things that feel easy and we forget that those are our really amazing gifts that we can share with people. So bringing them both together was that light bulb moment of like, yes, now I can show up as my whole self and not leave parts of me at the door.
I know. And I love your story because a lot of what you're saying, I can resonate with that as well. And I love the last part that you mentioned, you know, the things that come easy for us, we sometimes discredit it and we don't even look at it. We just think that everybody knows this because it's so easy. But what we don't understand is that not everybody knows what you know. And I think this is the beauty of running your own business. And in particular, if you're in a service-based industry, you've got a niche, you've got a talent, a skill that you think comes easy to you. And because it comes easy to you, everybody else should have that. But they don't. And this is the beauty of us as a humanity, where we can just so support and help each other with our different skill sets. And I think this is where it encapsulates everything we're going to talk about today with, I love what you said, we're going to be a little bit rebellious today. but in a way where we kind of, look at, we're going to rebel against all the shoots where people are telling you, this is what you should be doing to market your business. This is what you should be doing to get clients. And we're just really going to dive into that a little bit more to understand what it is that you really need to do in order to figure out what's aligned with you. So talk to us a little bit about, being aligned with your vision, with your mission, and also the values. Dive into that a little bit. And what do you, from your experience, want to share with the audience here? Because I think at the end of the day, we all want to be aligned with all of our values and mission statements and, the things that we're doing in our businesses in order to make it work.
Yeah. And there's so much, it's such a learning curve, isn't it, when we come into business? There's all of these different guides in the industry telling us all these things that we could do, all these things that they recommend, how they've created success. And if you just do this system, then you'll be as successful as me. And, it can be very noisy in our industry. And finding out what is going to work for you sometimes takes time, a bit of experimentation. I remember I was doing a values exercise once, and the word rebel was on there, or rebellious. And as a complete sort of recovering perfectionist, good girl, follow the rules, want all the gold stars, don't like to sort of ruffle feathers, that really spoke to me, because it sort of woke up this part of me that said, well, what if you were to do it your way? What if you were to trod your own path, the path less traveled, and discover what's going to work for you? Because I tried so many different things that worked for everybody else, and actually I just ended up burnt out. I would borrow other people's goals, like, oh, if you only just get to this level, or if you only earn this amount of money, or you have this type of house or car or lifestyle, then you'll be happy. And I tried, so hard to try and recreate their version of success in a way that didn't feel good for me, but I thought was the right thing to do because I was being a good girl and following the process. And I just ended up exhausted, and I actually made myself quite poorly. So it took me to take it to that extreme to realize it's not going to work. It's not going to work if I try and live up to somebody else's version of what success is or what fulfillment looks like. And it's really hard to compare. We're all starting from a different starting point.
Yeah.
We're all starting from different experience, different gifts, different skills, different values. So, taking that step back and really connecting again, what is the most important thing to me? How would I like my life and business to be? Who do I want to work with, and in what way? What does that get to look like? And really sort of designing it in that unique way that's going to make sense, that's going to be energizing. Because otherwise, following somebody else's path, there's less creativity, there's less meaning. And then if you get there anyway, and you realize this isn't going to make me happy, what's the point?
In so many ways, what you just shared there, I think, one of the things that stand out for me in particular is, when I started my business, the first couple of years was really a huge learning curve for me, because I went out there and I tried to do all of these things that people are saying, this is what you need to do. And then finally, when I figured out what it is that was really aligned with me and what it is that is really working for me, and I went down there and did it, everything just snowballed and it just started getting better and better and better. But also, I think the most amazing thing for me is I was having a lot more fun because it was aligned with me. So I do have conversations with a lot of people that are still coming to me and say, I'm trying everything and it's not working for me. But what I want to share here, and correct me if I'm wrong if you don't agree with me, but I think we all need to go through a stage like that where we've got to try everything. People come up and say the newest latest thing and this is what you need to do, and the newest latest strategy and this is what you need to do. And we all need to experiment and try some of these things if they feel that this could be the thing. But there's going to come a point where you're going to go, okay, enough. I've tried all of these things. Out of all of them, what do I feel, or what can I take from this to do something, to get a strategy, or to get my business in a movement that is aligned with me to take it forward. Have you come across, or have you worked with clients that had similar experiences, or yourself even maybe?
Yeah. And I call it the experimental phase.
Yeah.
And I think it's very valuable. However, I always say put a deadline on that, because the danger is that we try lots of different things and then we go over here and then we go over here and we never stick to anything long enough for it to work. So definitely try lots of things, but don't let that become habitual, that you never see anything through. So when you are experimenting, I think there's a difference between this is a new skill that I'm learning and it's a bit difficult, but I'm enjoying it, and I'm gonna hone my skills and I know it'll get easier.
Yeah.
To this terrifies me. I hate it. I'm going to do everything I can to resist it, but I think I should do it because somebody said it's going to work.
Yes.
So having that discernment and really knowing what's the energy underneath that, so that you can, yes, we're going to do hard things. Yes, we're going to do stretchy things. Yes, it's not always going to feel comfortable. But if you're curious enough and you're enjoying the learning of it, and you can see that it's going to align with how you love to work, then it's okay to sort of work through some of that uncomfortable feeling. But definitely listen if it's not your natural style. For example, people like reels. We've talked about this as well, before, didn't we? Like, it's finding a way to do reels that you love, rather than going, oh, I'm following somebody else's templates and it's just not me. It's being able to show up in an authentic way that feels really good. Some people love writing, some people love being on video, some people express themselves in different ways. So go with, think about how you love to, create things or express yourself, so that it is always aligned with your natural style and what's going to feel enjoyable. I love it when you said, I started having more fun. That's a great sign that you're on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always talk about, any action you take, there should be an element of fun behind it, but also excitement. Yeah. So, if you're doing something and you're having fun with it, it means basically it's like your instinct, your guide and system, if that's what you want to call it, telling you that you're doing the right things, you're moving in the right track. And yes, you might be still excited about something, but then you've got to take a certain action. You're wondering, oh, do I really have to do this? I'm not quite sure. But if there is still that excitement behind it, just do it, try it out. You've got nothing to lose at the end of the day. But again, I think this is the thing where you specifically said, rebel against the shoulds. If you loathe it and you feel like, I don't want to do it, but I should do it because somebody else said so, then that's not the right action to take. So it's very much about just listening to our instinct a little bit more, isn't it?
Yeah. And that habitual good girl, I do what the teacher tells me, or I follow the rules, or, we are sort of trained to follow the rules and do that. But it's sort of creating that safety to say, I know what's best for me.
Yeah.
And if it's not working, even if you've invested in that program, because that can hold you back, I've got to do it because I've paid all this money, so it has to work. Some of the pressure then we put on ourselves. Just uncovering what's keeping you there, what do you feel is forcing you?
Yeah.
Because it's that force, it's that pushing through that feeling, that's when it starts to tip into that negative place where it's just not healthy for you.
Yeah.
So that's where it's okay to advocate for yourself. It's okay to speak up. This isn't working for me, or I don't want to do this anymore. And it can be scary to do that. But that's where we can create change. That's where we can start then moving towards something that is more fun, is more pleasurable and enjoyable. And if there's part of you that says, but it has to be hard work, but it has to feel like I'm working, because we're sort of, again, trained for productivity. Productivity looks like I'm sitting at my desk typing from 9 to 5, when in reality Productivity might look like, going to a coffee shop and journaling, or going for a walk and getting your best ideas, or, taking a weekend off with your family and allowing yourself space to have a life.
Yeah.
That is just as good as, force chaining yourself to your desk to churn things out because it looks like you're being productive.
Yeah, absolutely. And oh my goodness, I think we can talk about productivity in a completely separate episode because there's so much to cover underneath there.
Yeah, but it's sort of working in your way, marketing your business in the way that feels aligned for you.
Yes.
Being free to say it might look different to what other people expect, or it might look different to what other people have taught me, but I give myself permission to discover my own way of doing things.
Yeah. And I think, if we look at the other side of that, it's also there are quite a few dangers of following other people's paths. One of them, which you mentioned earlier on, is that overwhelm. But what other dangers are there if you just try and follow what other people tell you should be doing?
It's okay if you've got that clarity that they are aligned with you. So it's doing that work first, isn't it? To say, I know that I want to have this type of business or this type of lifestyle, or learn about this type of marketing. And then you can follow that person because you know that they're aligned. But if you haven't got that clarity first and you're in the marketplace and you've got, all these people obviously promoting themselves and they've got these very slick marketing machines, and you get swept up into something that actually, 3 months in, you go, how did I get here? Where am I going? And I think it's having that discernment of knowing what your vision is first is really useful, because then you can pick out those people that are going to support you, are going to help you to get to where you're going. But I found, especially early on, where I was still trying to figure things out for myself, I would get caught up quite easily in other people's marketing machines. And it all sounded amazing. And I was trying to do too much all at the same time. It was just a recipe for overwhelm. So again, taking that step back, being more strategic. Where do I want to go? What is my vision? And then what programs can help with that? Because otherwise you just end up dancing all over the place and never really get anywhere.
Yeah, I love what you're saying there, because I think for everybody listening to this now or watching the video, it's a very good kind of flag post for you, almost, to say that if you're at this moment in time where you kind of getting swept up by all of these marketing strategies or what people are telling you should be doing, then immediately recognize that you're buying into so many things, but you don't have clarity yet. So maybe it's time for you, just like Sarah's saying, is to step back, get that clarity first. And then when you have that clarity, then go and find what support, you can get that is aligned with you in order to move your business forward. And I think, again, it's not a mistake. I don't talk about mistakes. I talk about lessons. You maybe had to get into a point in your business or in your life where you get swept up by all of these shoulds or coulds, so to speak. But maybe you've come to a point now where you've got to go, okay, enough is enough. Let me stand back. Let me get clarity about what is really aligned with my vision, with my goals, and then look at all the opportunities out there. And I would say just choose one, just to start off with, just to find out what is aligned with you and then move in that direction.
And you can do all the things, but not all at once.
Exactly.
So give yourself time. That was another really big breakthrough that I had. That I was like, well, if I gave myself a year or 3 years to do all these projects and to create, I'm very creative. I love creating resources. And I thought, well, if I just did this every month, or if I just did this in this quarter, that would lead to that. But I don't have to feel like I have to take on everything all at once. And also, when you have these different programs being advertised, often that's on their timescale because they've got a launch and they're selling it there and then. So again, it's easy to get swept up into thinking, oh, oh, I have to make a decision this weekend about whether I want to do that. And actually, if you've got your clarity already, you say, well, that doesn't fit with what I want to do over the next 3 months. So that can wait. And if I miss out, there'll be something else,
Yeah.
you know? And I think I've become a lot more knowledgeable about the inside of, you know, of the techniques that people use to kind of hook you in, that I'm able to be more discerning now than I was back then. So it's on, I know my vision, I know my timescales, and therefore find the things that can help you at your timing, not on their launch schedule.
Exactly. And I love the way that you said it there, because we all get swept up in that. But if you understand the techniques and what they're using, it again helps you just to go, hold on a minute, let me step back and see if this is aligned with me. Let me go to that place of clarity first. What is the vision? What is my goal? Where is it that I want to go? And then decide, is this going to help me get there? And not get swept up in the emotion of the moment where you go like, oh, gotta have this. This is one of those things. Maybe it's going to work. Maybe it is the thing. It's not maybe. Yeah. Get that clarity first.
Yeah.
So talking about that clarity, you've got an amazing book, basically, that helps us to put this planning into place. I think, you know, basically it hits the nail on the head with two things you mentioned there: clarity and also looking at your time scale. Tell us a little bit about this book and the planner that you've got with it.
So going back to that crossroads that I mentioned, I had I was just at a complete impasse. I'd left a job, I left my partner, it was completely free for the first time. I was with him from the age of 15 to 15. I think I was, yeah, that sounds really young now. It was like 9 years. So, but all of like my late teens, early 20s, I'd always been with somebody. So it was like being able to be single and think, well, I can have anything I want. I can go anywhere. I can do anything. I can have anything. Well, what do I want then? Was so difficult, but also very, inspiring that you can just think, well, I can have anything I want. And if so, what would it be? So I started just dreaming, basically. What would I like my life to be like? How would I like it to be? I love that coaching question. So I just started in my journal mapping out my dream life. And people said to me, you're crazy, you can't say those things. I wanted a house, a husband, and 2 children by the time I was 30. I was single, I was living in a shared house, I was a hot mess. And people were just like, you can say you want those things, but you can't put a time scale on it. And I was like, it's okay, you don't have to believe it. Your opinion is sort of irrelevant, really. This is just what I want, and this is what I would love to manifest. So I manifested that, and I said I want to be a life coach when they're at school, and that happened. And so I thought I lived that. I lived the experience of being able to map up what you want and then it happening. So I sort of took that experience and put it into business. Love having that strategy, having that clarity, and then the strategy is so important. But it's not just about what you do. It's not just about, oh, well, if I want a husband, I need to go and do this, this, and this. It's what kind of partner am I? Who am I becoming? It's not just being a perfect, having a perfect husband. It's like, who are you as a wife as well as? So again, with the business, it's not just about all the things that you want to do. It's who you want to be. And so the planner also really just helps people to have that structure, be able to space out some of those projects to reduce that overwhelm, because it's so easy to just want to do all the things, but have that one place where your vision is held, where you can connect with it regularly. Because it's all right in January say, this is my vision board for the year, I'd love to go for a walk every day, and I'd love to drink more water, and all the things that we always say in January. I do anyway. By March, have you remembered that? How are you remembering it? So I found having the planner really helped me to keep coming back to that, keep reminding myself when I get distracted and I have this other, brilliant idea, or somebody has a fantastic launch that I'm just so excited about doing their program, being able to have somewhere that I come back to and go, what was my vision? What was my plan? Does this fit in with that? Yes or no? So for me, it became a practice. There's a beautiful exercise about reflecting as well. So you write down all the things that you're celebrating, or the happy moments. So it becomes like a lovely record of the year as well that you're building. It's great to look back on in December and go, oh yeah, I forgot we went to the zoo, or oh, I forgot I, you know, had this amazing income month. And it's so easy to discount the amazing things that happen because we're always looking at what's next and what we haven't done. So again, that reflective practice just gives you that confidence that you can say, oh yeah, I have achieved all these things. And oh, it often surprises me because I always think I've still got so far to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's so important in order to have that written down, not just, somewhere in the back of your mind. Do you have a copy of the book there so everybody can see
Yeah.
it for those watching the video?
Yeah, so
I love it.
It's an A4 kind of softback planners, plenty of coaching questions. There's space to map out your goals, your vision. There's also oracle cards spread as well, so you can pull a card for each month of the year. So for those that like to have that more intuitive element as well. And there's, so it's having that blend of the structure of, okay, these are the goals that I want. This is what I need to do each month, and this is how I'm going to plan out my weeks and months to make that happen. But there's also space for affirmations so that you can tune into who you're becoming and have that reassurance as well as you go through. What have I written on here? I can do it. Some of those sort of easy kind of the way that you talk to yourself and encourage yourself as you go along as well.
I think it's amazing because in so many ways, having a planner like that kind of helps you take the hard work out of it, thinking, what do I need to write down? And I think journaling is one of those things where you sit with your journal and then you just let things flow, but then you don't always know where you're going with it. Where if you've got a planner, it helps you again with what we spoke about earlier on, getting that clarity down onto paper. And I talk about a brain dump. Sometimes you just need a good brain dump to get that clarity and see it from a different perspective as it is sitting there on the piece of paper. But then also, planning that out in a time scale. So this is what I want to achieve. Here's the action steps that I need to take in order to achieve that. And I think, when you've got a planner such as yours there, it just makes it so much easier to get rid of that overwhelm instantaneously, but also realize that you don't have to sit in front of your computer 24/7 in order to achieve your goals. Actually, things are very easy. It's not complicated, but you do need that clarity, which is why I think the book, the planner that you've got there just makes it so much easier to look at it from another perspective.
Yeah, that bigger picture, because we can get down in the details. Oh, I've got to do this and I've got to go here and I've got to, I've got that appointment or that coaching client, and you can get down in the details. But if you can come up every month, reflect on what's going well, look at your numbers, look at the metrics that you're tracking, have a brain dump, the space for a brain dump, but then put that into action steps. And then every quarter check in with, okay, what's happening? What are the trends that I'm seeing? What are the patterns I'm noticing? What tasks do I keep carrying over again and again? Is it time to ditch them or delegate them, or just get on with it? And also carrying things forward, ideas. I can't hold this in my head right now, or I've got so much to do, it's not the right time, but it's a great idea. Just pop it forward, 3 months and pick it up again. So I love having space to hold. It's like a companion for me to be able to keep me on track when I get very distracted.
No, honestly, we all need a good planner like that. So for those of you listening, we've got a link down in the show notes where you can obviously go and have a look at the planner as well and get your copy if you're interested to use that, just to get rid of the overwhelm, but also to gain a little bit more of your own clarity and to put those actionable steps in a time scale that works with you and is aligned with you. But on top of that, Sarah's got an amazing quiz, and I'm going to go check this out as well, because when I heard about this quiz, I thought it is really fantastic. And hey, who doesn't like a good quiz? Tell us a little bit about this quiz, Sarah. What is it all about, and what is the benefit of going through this?
Yeah, so again, it's helping you to get that clarity. I think there's so many things that we could do, and sometimes we just need that bit of guidance. Where is best to focus my attention? So the quiz helps you to discover your next steps to attracting clients with ease. You go through and it kind of diagnoses where you are at the moment and what would be a really useful next step for you to be able to encourage those clients to book in. So I think there's about 10 questions and it gives you the answer, and then links to different resources that can support you.
That is amazing. And I think, with anything we're doing, me being a business coach talking about client attraction, I'm always intrigued as to what is out there. But I think the most important thing is to make sure that whatever you do with your business, it needs to be aligned with you. And I think, with a quiz like that, it kind of, like you say, it takes you from where you are and it kind of shows you and gives you resources in order to kind of see if this is one of those things that you need clarity on, and if it's aligned with you and if you want to do it. So thank you so much for making that available, and thank you so much for being here on the podcast as well. I just love this conversation, and even the previous conversation we had outside of the podcast was really, really eye-opening. So thank you for your time. So for those of you again listening, the details for the book will be down in the show notes. The link to do the quiz is also in the show notes, and if you want to get in contact with Sarah and you would like to have a conversation with her, then obviously you can connect with her through her website, LinkedIn, and also Instagram, and those details will be in my show notes as well. So feel free to reach out with her. I'm sure she'd love to have a conversation with you. But if anything, just go and have a look at the planner and just go and do the quiz. You'd be very surprised as to what those answers might be for you. Sarah, thank you so much again for being here. We're going to be in touch very soon again, because I know this is not going to be the last podcast episode we've done. So I know we're going to talk again.
I'd love that. Thank you.